What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in. I am back home, but you know what else is back home? Crypto prices. Everything pulling back here today. The question is, what is the big news happening? What does the future of crypto look like? It's pretty much the question every single day. You guys come in, you have crypto portfolios more than likely. So you're sitting here saying, what does Tim and the guys think about what's happening in the crypto markets? We're going to cover all of it right here, right now. We've been pretty adamant, though, over the last couple of weeks, as bullish as we are future out. And there's a lot more news coming out even today that keeps me feeling bullish long term. We've been telling you the bottom might not be in yet, and it turns out we were very right. Very right. As crypto continues to dip down, there's something on the charts, too, that's a little concerning that you need to know about that kind of do show the bottoms might not be in just yet. However, there's always reason for hope right around the corner. So stick around throughout the show as we cover all of the big details you need to know about your crypto portfolio. Give us your thoughts in the comments down below as well. Are altcoins dead at this point? I mean, people are freaking out about Bitcoin, but let's be honest. Bitcoin's still above $100,000. That's as long as we stay above $100,000, you really shouldn't complain about Bitcoin that much. However, Bitcoin dominance did something sneaky today. We're going to look at the charts. Is that a sign that altcoins are officially dead, or is it a misdirection? Let me know in the comments down below. We'll get there in a second. But first, I want to introduce my team that are sitting in some great locations. Shrum's at his house, but I think the Smay's out in Scotland somewhere playing a good old game of golf. But I don't know, whatever your origin name is, that's probably what he's actually playing. Smay, how are you feeling today, my friend?
Well,
Looking dapper, by the way.
Tim, thank you. I actually am wearing this outfit because, believe it or not, I am participating in a golf tournament this weekend, and I decided to get some snazzy golf outfits. And it came in the mail today, and so I was trying it on, and then we had to go live. So here we are.
Listen, loving it on this end. That you look like you should be on a billboard for the game of golf with how you're looking today. Nice and dapper, as I said. Shrum, how you feeling, my friend? You're wearing a hodl hat. Are you hodling, or is that just a gimmick of a hat?
I am hodling, Tim, and folks who tune into the morning news, which is something we talk about every single morning in the Discord, free Discord, and our VIP membership side. Man, I was telling everybody, look, I'm holding strong here. Could we go lower? We absolutely could go lower. And, I think that it's a time to really dig in, get those diamond hands strong and hodl on. Do I like seeing the number in my portfolios and go down? No, I don't. Right. But that happens when you are invested in a very volatile asset class that has high reward, also comes with high risk. So I'm seeing that number go down just like everyone else. It sucks because I've got Ondo, I've got Chainlink, I've got AVAX, and those are down. Some are double digits to the downside, but I'm holding on, and I do have a bit of dry powder to deploy depending on when we start to show some rounding, but I'm not deploying that dry powder just yet, Tim.
Something to be aware of. I don't think we had this plan on the show, but on Friday, again, I was traveling on Friday, but I was still scrolling through X. I don't know if you saw this, Shrum or Smay. On Friday, there was a post that went out that Jim Cramer, of course, reverse Cramer strikes once again. He said that we would have to wait until Monday for a pump. What happened all weekend? Of course, crypto markets went back up. Actually, go to my chart here really quickly, Smay, so people can see just what happened here on these charts. What happened the weekend? Bitcoin pumped back up as high as $111,000 per coin. Guess what happened on Monday when it was supposed to pump, as Kramer said? That's right. It has fallen back down. Go back to our split screen here. So once again, that's just a little bonus portion of the show. Reverse Kramer has struck once again perfectly in exactly the exact way you think it would go down. What are your thoughts about that, Shrum? Before we get in here, we'll look at some charts. We'll get into the news. We'll ask some questions and get some answers here. What are your thoughts about Kramer?
Yeah, inverse Kramer, it's definitely a reliable indicator, I would say. Just make sure you don't get confused because he also makes a lot of comments on the TradFi side, which he actually is quite lethal and not inverse on. So when Jim Cramer makes comments on the crypto side, including Bitcoin, usually you can bank on the fact that whatever he's saying is the opposite is what's going to happen. On the TradFi side, though, he gets a lot of calls right. He's been bullish on NVIDIA.
Well,
and
maybe this is another one. Someone in chat fact check me and let us know in the chat. I don't think you're going to have time to do this. I think something I also saw over the weekend or sometime last week was that there's a reverse Kramer bet, I guess. I don't know. The reverse Kramer portfolio is up 57% since January 1st. To put it in perspective, Nancy Pelosi, of course, everyone loves to follow the inside trader. She's only up 47%. So again, fact check me on that. I might be the numbers a little off, but I remember seeing the reverse Kramer has a better return on investment than Nancy Pelosi. That's pretty impressive. But again, fact check me because that is something I don't have up here. It's more like that wasn't in the planning of the show, but due to the conversation, it just kind of came up out of the blue. Let's get in here. Let's look at some charts real quickly. We took a look at Bitcoin a second ago. Some of you will see what I'm going to talk about. I told you guys in the intro, there's something on this chart that I don't like. In fact, I'll zoom out for a second. There's two things on this chart that I don't like. And they're the same thing, just in two different locations. Somebody in the chat, can you guys tell me what you think that is? What is on this chart that would make me say, that does not look good? That does not look good at all. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to get on that one. While we're doing that, we tell you guys all the time, even though we don't believe the cycle is over, as Prompt84 just said in the chat, if you wanted proof we are live, reading your live chat over there. Even though I don't believe the cycle is over, even though I believe the top is not in, I think I tweeted this out yesterday. Is the bottom in? Maybe not. But is the top in? Absolutely not. I'm still long-term bullish. I still believe that crypto is preparing. Bitcoin and crypto prices in the next couple of months are preparing a major rip to the upside. However, that does not mean that we can't pull back whatsoever. In fact, I'm very interested to see how fear and greed looks tonight because guess what? Last night, when we got the last fear and greed index, we had the prices above 110,000 per coin, and crypto's fear and greed index came in at 42, technically still in the fear, but moving over into the neutral territory. However, as you guys know, just a couple of short days ago, let me get this, take my face down for a second, Smay. People can't see this behind me. We were just all the way back down here on October 31st at 29. Of course, back here in October on the 18th, we were at 22. So we've been way lower, but when you look at price action, go back to my face here, Smay, you're going to see that this morning we dropped down to levels we have not seen since back here on October 17th. Certain altcoins, depending on which ones you were looking at. Let's say, for example, Chainlink. Chainlink is the lowest this morning that it has been since the October 10th drop. I think it's going to apply to a lot of coins, like Ondo back down at 61 cents. Once again, last time we saw this price level, that was the major October 10th drop. I could go through a lot of altcoins on that. The story, though, states, my point here is, what is fear and greed index going to do after jumping back up to 42, still being in the fear, but kind of in that neutral zone? If we can't mount a major rally, if we end up closing the daily candles somewhere down here below $107,000 per coin, what does that mean necessarily for the Bitcoin fear and greed index? How scared will people actually react and respond? There is something we're kind of tracking right now that ultimately, one of the reasons I don't think the bottom is in is because I don't think, as much as X is going to make you think that way and YouTube comments are going to make you think that way, I don't think that the sentiment is actually as bad as you would think. I think there's a chance it could get a little bit worse right before the major rally. That conversation will come back up in a couple of minutes, so stick around for that one. Really quickly, though, as we are looking here, I want to answer this question and then do a little new segment we're going to start doing more frequently, because if you want to make money in these markets, holding Bitcoin right now or holding cryptocurrency is not making you a whole lot of money. I'm not telling you to sell your crypto. Ultimately, I'm not a financial advisor. You do whatever you want to do. I'm not selling my crypto right now. So how do I make money with a hodling strategy when the market's going down? I'm going to show you how. But first, why do I think Bitcoin potentially could go lower? I saw the answer in chat. Several of you actually answered it, and you're 100% correct. We have a head and shoulders pattern, but we don't just have one head and shoulders pattern, guys. We have a micro head and shoulders and a macro head and shoulders. Let's start off with the micro one, the one popping up right here that's more relevant on like the 4-hour chart. You guys can see here very clearly we have a nice little left shoulder right here, a bigger head, and then a slanted right shoulder. Pretty clean looking head and shoulders pattern. The way I would look at this is I would take a view of the neckline, where the necklines touch, or the neck of the shoulders touch, you take the depth of the head down to that line, you move it over to a potential breakout. This suggests, I want to be very clear here, guys, before I say this, I am not predicting this to happen. I think it could happen. I think there's a chance that this happens. But I'm just showing you what the chart said. I would be a terrible analyst, and I would be a terrible informer of information if I cherry picked what information I want to share with you. I want to share the good news. I want to share the bad news. The bad news with this formation is that this could send the price of Bitcoin down here below 98,000 to 97,249. Okay. To be clear, that lines up with something else we talked about for the last couple of weeks. Remember this little ditty? We have a weekly sell signal on Bitcoin. Weekly sell signals take a very long time to play out, right? The last time we had a weekly sell signal on Bitcoin, you have to go all the way back here, clearly into December of 2024. We wouldn't come down and hit the target, right? Hit the smart trail. We would not touch the smart trail target all the way here until March. So 3 months and a new all-time high happened before this sell signal did its fullness. Same thing back here. We had a sell signal on the weekly chart back on April 1st of 2024. Would not hit the smart trail until July 1st. So again, several months in play. We got this sell signal on the weekly chart way back here on around August 4th, early August. We haven't touched it yet, but where's that signal coming in? It's coming in just above that level at 98,500, just a little bit above that 97,240 I just told you is the shorter term head and shoulders pattern in play. But remember, I just said that's the micro head and shoulders pattern, meaning it's the short term one. What about when we zoom out here and we go out to the daily chart? And we haven't gotten into a lot of analysis here. We're just looking at one particular type of it. What about this look over here? Going back to this hump in September, nice looking left shoulder, nice looking head, and of course, another right shoulder right here. Now you have this one. The neckline's gonna be a little sticky here. Some people are gonna say, Tim, should you draw it to that wick down here? Well, that's the October 10th wick. I'm gonna draw it to the close. I'm gonna draw it to where price kind of consolidated right here. You still have a major head in play that would drive the price down. If we end up breaking down here, this would drive the price all the way down towards 90,600. Once again, am I predicting this price to happen? No, I'm not predicting. What I'm saying is, oh my goodness, you have two different head and shoulders patterns that are both predicting 100,000, lower than 100,000 ends up happening. Now, I just left you a lot of doom and gloom. Don't click off just yet. I see someone said that they're done with it. I think there's more than one person saying they're done with crypto. And that, you know what? I'm not your financial advisor. You can be done with crypto if you want to. I'm not done with crypto, but I am looking for other ways to make money. I'm going to be shorting. I'm going to be trading. I'm going to be looking at stocks. Stick around. We're talking about a stock that could be very interesting in the future. So you don't want to miss that towards the end of the show. But let me give you one ray of hope, right? I just dashed a lot of hope with showing you head and shoulders patterns. I always tell people, I teach head and shoulders patterns in our education platform. I teach people how to read them, but I'm very clear that cryptocurrency, you don't always in the crypto space get clean breakouts on head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders patterns. Great example of this. Look to the upside. This is what we call an inverse head and shoulders pattern. It just played out back here in September, right? So before the head and shoulders pattern, we had two shoulders and that lower middle bump. That makes this an inverse head and shoulders pattern. For this one, even though you're going to see candle body closes, you really see more of a candle or a neckline kind of pointing out like this. This would have suggested if a inverse head and shoulders pattern had played out correctly, we should have made it all the way up to $130,000 per coin. But notice, we stopped short. We only made it to 126. So what am I saying? This is an example where inverse head and shoulders patterns and head and shoulders patterns, be aware of them. They are bullish or bearish, depending on which one you're looking at. But by no means are the breakouts definite. By no means are they a sure done deal. Right now, there is a major level of support that we have been bouncing on for quite some time. It actually was resistance, this green line here, resistance in May, resistance in June, resistance in July, before a big breakout in July of 2025. And now we've had 1, 2, and this morning's 3 touches on this consistent trend line. Can this support line hold? That is the question. I want to move into a new segment. We're talking about some trade things. Because again, how do you make money during this season where everything's bearish? By the way, just so everyone's very clear here, there's a daily sell signal right there, but I think we're sitting on the smart trail. Let me put this up real quick. Yeah, pretty much bounced off that daily smart trail, big order block right there. So that's another trade signal right there that kind of gave us a good indication here a couple of days ago. The daily chart wanted to sell off. But how about smaller time frames? This morning, if you were in our VIP trading group, we had 3 different trades. 2 of them have turned out to be profitable. They're still open, but they're profitable already, locked in profits. One of them, we'll see, have to wait and see. Bitcoin, we used to have this big wick down below. We entered down here, actually 2 different entries on Bitcoin at 106,000 and 105.4 here on the 1 hour chart. We had our take profit 1 for safety net. We want to make sure we end in profit here at 107,440. And we had our main take profit at 109. Why? Well, that's because this morning we had, if you look at the 1 hour chart, we had a nice buy signal on the oscillator. Then we had our smart trail up high, and we always have a middle ground for our take profit 1. Why did we win this trade? Because this indicator that, again, is trading with a 90% or greater win probability told us that a rebound bounce should happen. When you pair that with the fact that lower time frames, if I go to lower ones, you have the lower time frames. Look at this gnarly volume that came in here on this little bounce right there. That was a great indication that while we were selling off a lot this morning, the bulls took a little bit of power back. And sure enough, not saying that the bottom's in, not saying we can't go lower. We just anticipated a 1 hour buy signal plus a high volume reversal. You're dead. You're doomed for a nice bounce back up, a dead cat bounce. Sure enough, right there, we were ejected on an order block from this indicator. Great trade. Again, it's not closed because we could go a little bit higher here. But for now, we are watching and saying we had made some money on Bitcoin. We also made some money on our Ondo trade. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but once again, buy signal on the 1 hour chart. So we entered after this low wick. We have a take profit 1. We got hit at 62.75. We did have a TP2 all the way up here now at 66. That needs to be lowered. So anyone who's in our trade, you need to lower that one down because the smart trail is dropping on us. Probably not going to make it up that high on this bounce. But we've already locked it into profit at this point. If price drops down, we will have a stop loss that makes sure we do not lose any money. The only one we have not made money on today yet is the Solana one. And actually, we have exited this one because at a certain point, we like to move our stop losses to break evens. We had the buy signal. I'll say this. The buy signal kind of faked us out. See right here, we had positive money flow coming in, but now that money flow is coming out. Be watching this one, though. We're out of this trade, our community group, but we probably will re-enter this one tonight if we see this positive money flow come back on this indicator. Again, when you look at the history of this move, take a look, for example, right back here. All the doom and gloom, buy signal comes in. We get a green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow. Check out what the charts do. They rally up here to our smart trail. We would have had a take profit 1 and take profit 2 hit there. There's lots of examples where you could have shorted this for, let's go back here. I was asleep here, but if you have this indicator, take a look at what we had earlier today. We had some nice divergence. We had a bearish reversal dot. We had bearish money flow right here. This would have told you, let's see, yesterday at 7 a.m. So I guess I was driving is why I didn't trade this one. At 7 a.m. yesterday, you got a sell signal on the 4 hour chart that told you to at least short Bitcoin down to 108.2. Guess what? It went even lower than that. This is a super power trading indicator. There are a couple ways to get this right now. You actually, if you want to pay full price, I don't even think we have a link for it down below, but there is a way that you can buy this indicator and just head for the hills, do your own thing. However, one of the cool things about our community is when you sign up for our VIP trading group, you get access to live trading sessions, you get access to education, but you also get this indicator 100% for free. And this is one of those ways, even in a month or a period of time where the hodling is not making money, even a period of time where Bitcoin is coming back down and is dropping even as we're speaking, you absolutely can make money one way or another. By the way, stick around. We have another announcement, a new sponsor we have for exchanges as well. But you want to hear about this one because this is one, I know a lot of people are frustrated with exchanges. We have a new partnership with an exchange that actually protected people back on October 10th. Those clients did not get liquidated, did not get moved past their stop losses. Stick around. We'll make that announcement a little bit later. I wanted to give you a little bit of trade talk before we jump into the news. In a nutshell, make money whether the markets are bullish or bearish. Right now, there is reasons to be cautious if you are in a long-term long position because the markets are absolutely trending down. You also see, I didn't mention this when it comes to altcoins. We'll have to talk about this one a little bit later as well because we have a lot of news to get into, and it's already 3:21. Bitcoin dominance has broken out to the upside. I was sitting here thinking that we were going to break to the downside, but I trade the charts. I make sure to pay attention to what's happening on the charts. I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger here. Bitcoin dominance climbing, historically bearish. Does that mean that altcoins are dead? Stick around. Wait till the end of the show. I'm going to go back into altcoins after the news segment. But right now, you should know that's not a good chart if you're heavy into altcoins like I am, by the way. I'm not going to just put that off on other people. I got a lot of altcoins. Does this chart signal the end of the altcoin season? I'll answer that here in just a couple of minutes. I want to take a quick break, though, and send it over to Shrum, who's going to be covering the news here today. I'll be going back and forth with him. But let's take a break from the charts. Let's take a break from the blood. What's going on in the news? What should people be thinking about for the future? Maybe even some of our people who are not traders, right? I just talked a lot about how the traders are operating right now. What about our long-term holders who are saying, I wasn't planning on taking profit the next couple of months anyway, but do I have a hope that this bull run can continue? Is there any reason to stay in my hodl positions, or should I sell everything and run for the hills? Shrum, what do you have for us in the news today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and turn to the news to answer some of those questions. We'll do a little bit of digestion of all of this and more on the other side of it. Update: the Fed injected $29.4 billion into banks yesterday. I thought I smelled the money printers. Yes, things are getting a little rocky over on the TradFi side, and the Fed is having to take some action. That is a retweet of this headline from earlier. U.S. on the October 31st, U.S. bank reserves fall to $2.8 trillion, the lowest level since 2020. You can see there on my screen. This white line here is returning back to this red level that is 2.8. Again, we haven't seen that since 2020. You name the pandemic that was going on back then. So this is a point in time. This is a level where they're having to intervene. Now, it's not quite quantitative easing. Some might call it dark quantitative easing or shadow quantitative easing. But Tim, I want to get your thoughts on this. The printers are not fully turned on. They're not blazing like they did during the pandemic or the 2008 housing crisis. But what does this move from the Fed signal to you?
Yeah, well, it's really important to think through this and what this means. We've even done a lot of research on this ourselves. I'll be putting out a video tomorrow about the history of when we exit quantitative tightening. Something very important that I even had to educate myself on over the weekend. Just because you end quantitative tightening does not mean you enter quantitative easing. I think a lot of you probably actually already know that, but just in case there's anyone else out there like me who thought it's just an automatic switch over, that's not how it works. However, the history of moving away from quantitative tightening is still bullish. But one of the biggest reasons why crypto prices have still been pulling back, there's actually a couple of reasons, but one of it is because there was a little bit of misunderstanding about how liquidity works. A long time ago, back at the beginning of this year, we told you guys, now our timeline kept getting mixed up, but we have been very adamant that crypto will rally like crazy when we have clear regulation and added liquidity. When you have tariff fears and when you have a restrictive Fed, you're not going to get that added liquidity. And without clear regulation, there's not going to be the massive buying from institutions. Now, did I think it was going to happen earlier in 2025? Sure. So hands up, I predicted a timeline much more aggressive than what we're seeing play out. But I remain the same that my reason to be bullish has not changed. My reason to bullish is that we are still headed for, haven't achieved it yet, but headed for a time period with clear regulation and higher liquidity. Well, one of the charts that we actually look at, let's take a look at my chart here for a second. And this is one that's been a little bit misunderstood because, by the way, myself included. So I'm kind of, as I educated myself on this, I want to educate you guys as well. We've been following the M2 money supply. And a lot of times there's like a 10-week delay between what the M2 money supply is doing and what Bitcoin does. You can see here historically over the last couple of years, it seems like every single period of time where M2 supply is going up, Bitcoin is doing it about 10 weeks later. Every single time M2 supply is going down, Bitcoin's doing it 10 weeks later. Well, this made us believe that starting back here in July, we should have seen nothing but upward momentum pretty much through to September with a small correction in October and then more rallies following after. Well, instead, we've pretty much been trading sideways/down since July of this year. Why? Because while a lot of people use the M2 money supply chart to track liquidity, it's not that simple. At the end of the day, this is still a reason to expect major bullish action for Bitcoin. Go off my screen now, Smay. But at the end of the day, you still actually have to have liquidity. The banks, one of the biggest distributors of liquidity, giving out loans, giving out mortgages, allowing people to have that added liquidity to buy things, they have been struggling. The reality is, for the last couple of months, there has not been liquidity in the market. And that's one of the biggest reasons why the Fed announced last week that starting December 1st, they will move away from quantitative tightening. Quantitative tightening, of course, keeps liquidity from coming onto the table. Now, as Shrum just showed you that article, they've actually started to deploy money already to get it back into the banks. Why? Because they were realizing banks are getting low on funds. What happens when we're low on funds? No one can borrow money. Interest rates get even higher. Businesses stop spending, and that is the definition of not having liquidity. So when you look at this overall, the crypto explanation, why aren't we going up? It comes down to a simple answer. Crypto prices are not increasing because there is not liquidity at this moment to go buy high-risk assets that crypto is viewed as. However, now that we are watching the Fed move away from quantitative tightening, now that we're watching the Fed inject these funds into banks, here comes the liquidity. I do expect, I'm not saying today, and I'm not saying tomorrow, and I'm not saying the bottom is in. I'm saying watch over the month of November into December, but definitely in December as we move away from quantitative tightening, liquidity comes back. And if we were right back in January, we might not have been wrong about the dates, but we said in January, you do need to see liquidity coming back into the markets for crypto to rally. That looks like it's coming very, very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll turn our attention now to someone who has made the markets pump and someone who has made the markets dump. It is the man in the White House, President Donald Trump. He has done a pretty rare piece in the 60 Minutes program, which here in the United States is, or I guess was, a very big and well-respected news outlet on CBS. But he had this to say in this clip. We're not going to play the audio here, but he talked about how the United States is continuing to put crypto as a top priority right next to AI. And we want to maintain the lead that we have in crypto. President Trump says we have a big lead in crypto. We want to maintain it. And that we have a lead, not necessarily a big lead, but a lead in AI. We want to maintain it as well. But also in this clip, and Tim, this is where I want to get your thoughts. He also mentions that from his perspective, China is actually getting involved in crypto at a very rapid pace. And this would be news to us, news to folks who watch this stuff like a hawk. I mean, we assume that China is a very big country with a lot of people in it. So, of course, they're going to be involved to some extent. But Donald Trump sharing his perspective that China is getting involved with crypto. What are your thoughts on this and just how big is it?
It's really big if it's true, right? So there is something you have to take into account when it comes to Donald Trump. Sometimes not everything he says is 100% the truth. Sometimes he over-exaggerates. Sometimes he twists some details. Sometimes he misunderstands. He did just have a meeting with the president of the country, so there's reasons to potentially think that it's true, and there's a level of saying you hope that it is true. Look at what just happened to gold's price over the last couple of months. Guess what one of the stories more recently that came out about the reason gold skyrocketed was? Because of a massive development of holding from the Chinese government. So if it's true, and I want to stress here the word if Trump is telling the truth, and if China is looking to accumulate Bitcoin and particular cryptocurrencies, let me be very clear. That's another, remember earlier I said there's several reasons? That is another reason. Forget just liquidity issues. If China is working on accumulating cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, I guarantee you, and I probably shouldn't guarantee you anything, so take that with a grain of salt, they are behind manipulation. China manipulates things very easily based off of how the country works and information goes out and news goes out and how they control their people. They absolutely control assets that they want to get into. So if they are interested in Bitcoin, interested in crypto, they are manipulating price themselves. Why? It makes sense. If you can do something, why don't you do it? Why would China want to get into the buying process of Bitcoin on the stair-stepping ladder up to the upside? Why would they want to buy at 120, then 130, then 140, then 150? If you're a country or an entity that is not holding a whole lot of cryptocurrency, you want to buy it as cheaply as possible. Think about you retail investors. Think about yourself. You guys will watch a coin or an asset skyrocket. You'll sit there and you'll look at Bitcoin at 126,000 and say, "Oh, why didn't I buy at 110,000? Can the price just go back, please, before it's too late?" But then we come back to that level, and all of a sudden you're saying, "Oh, we're in a bear market. We're done here. I can't buy Bitcoin. It's over. It's dead. It's gone." The point is, you ask for prices to dip back down to buy it. Imagine what the people with high liquidity and high money and high power over influence do themselves. They think something's valuable. They absolutely manipulate the price to bring it down to accumulate. Another word for buy up cheap prices before the next big run. Once again, I want to stress, if it's true that China's going big into crypto, it makes so much sense the price is delayed, but it also predicts, just like how gold skyrocketed a couple of months ago, Bitcoin and crypto prices could be right behind if it's true China is going all in on crypto. And even better, if China's going all in crypto and Trump wants to beat them with what the US is doing, the two most powerful economic countries in the world going all in on an asset class, that's an asset class I want to make sure is at least partially in my portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely never a dull moment in crypto, even though sometimes we will experience volatility in a volatile asset class. It is always stimulating. It's always something going on to talk about. And we're not going to get too far from the White House because President Donald Trump mentioned some things over the weekend. If you go over to my screen here, Smay, Trump's Sunday remarks were as follows. First, next week's case on tariffs is one of the most important in the nation's history, referring to the oral arguments that are starting in the Supreme Court. Then those oral arguments are whether or not Donald Trump's tariff regime is legal, is constitutional. So that has very big implications. Of course, President Donald Trump really wants those tariffs to be upheld by the Supreme Court. And there is an argument to be made that they will be upheld because the Republicans currently hold the majority in the Supreme Court, although it is not uncommon for Republicans and Democrats to vote against party line because the Supreme Court doesn't always have to be as political as Congress and other agencies of the House of Representatives. Let's go down to the second remark here. Stock market has reached all-time highs many times with virtually no inflation. And then the last remark here was recent successful negotiations with China strengthen the U.S. position through tariffs. So those were the remarks from Sunday, as was a 7:30 press briefing that President Donald Trump took. He also obviously talked about a lot more, but these were the financial takeaways. Tim, does any of these stand out to you as actionable or interesting?
I mean, definitely when you look at the Supreme Court thing, I think you have a good read on it. I think you're right. More than likely the tariffs will be allowed to stand, at least with the current setup with the Supreme Court. I'm interested in chat. Not that we get to vote on it here in chat. What do you guys want? I think we have a pretty mixed bag. I think that we have a lot of viewers that are conservative. I think we have a lot of viewers who are liberal. I think we have Republicans who don't like the tariffs and Democrats who do like the tariffs. I think we're a very mixed bag in this channel. So respect each other, respect your opinions. But if you want the tariff, if you're saying you're hoping that the Supreme Court shoots down the tariffs to end the tariff drama, drop a 1 in chat. And if you want the tariffs to remain, if you agree with Trump that there's a national security issue, and you want them to stand, put a 2. Not predicting, just put down there, what would you want if you could be on that Supreme Court? 1 for no tariffs, 2, let the tariffs stand. I'm interested what you guys think as well. In a nutshell, that is pretty big. I think it's going to go the way you said, Shrum. I think they're going to allow them to stand, but I would not be surprised if even several Republicans, I bet you a lot of people who voted for Trump back in November, or I guess they would have voted in November. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them were kind of like, I kind of wish the tariffs would go away. They're kind of affecting my business. They're kind of affecting my crypto. They're kind of affecting my life. We'll see. Again, we don't get to vote. That's going to be up to the Supreme Court, and we'll see how that one goes. But that's obviously the biggest news on that headline right there. Anything else we have in the news here today? I think we have a couple more stories.
Yeah, we've got a couple more stories, but there is a Polymarket spread on this. So Polymarket is saying only a 36% chance the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump's tariffs.
Oh, wow.
So that's interesting.
Maybe we're wrong.
A decent bump of volume on this too. 416,000 volume. So that's not nothing. We'll compare that to this one, which is 22 million. This is the big popular Fed decision in December one. So anyway, that's interesting, but we'll just have to wait and see. And by the way, the oral arguments that are starting this week, that does not mean that the ruling is going to be made this week. The ruling likely could come in 2026.
Yeah.
Ramping up for the midterms, we'll point out. So that could potentially be spun into quite a political quagmire for one side or the other. Moving on into the next story here. We talked about Trump's remarks. There are some bulls that just won't quit. I'm one of them when it comes to crypto. But Tom Lee, perhaps one of the most bullish, but also one of the most genius. I mean, his funds have absolutely outperformed the S&P almost by double. And he is still saying that 200,000 Bitcoin and 7,000 Ethereum by end of year is still on the table. And he didn't just say this on a tweet. He said this on CNBC's Squawk Box this morning, one of the top financial media outlets that's watched every day by investors and traders. Tim, is Tom Lee absolutely crazy for these types of predictions in 2025?
Yeah. Listen, I like Tom Lee. I've said on this channel before that several of Tom Lee's predictions have come true or come close to true. At worst, he's the type of person who's bullish at the right moments and bearish at the right moments. He's been a little off here recently. Now he's holding on to something about the end of year, but he definitely was a proponent of October was going to be an Uptober, right? And that's partially, there were definitely some positive signs on charts, and we had moments of pumps in October. But he was one of the reasons why I was pretty bullish on October as well. When someone like Tom Lee gets bullish, again, historically, you're doing a pretty good job to ride his coattails and be bullish with him. He missed on that one. So you got to take that into consideration. When he now predicts that in the next 60 days or less, that Bitcoin's price is going to almost double, that Ethereum's price is going to double, or again, both of them pretty close to double, I'm not saying there's not a chance, because there absolutely is a chance. If liquidity comes back in, if the Fed keeps cutting rates in December, if there's signs that even more is being done, absolutely it can happen. But at this point, it is very hesitant. I am hesitant to say we get that high. Do I think 150K under bullish situations for Bitcoin is doable? Absolutely. Do I think 5,000 to 6,000 for Ethereum is doable? Absolutely. But to just about double on both of those in the next 60 days when we haven't had a movement like that yet this bull run, I'm going to call me skeptical. I'm bullish, but I'm skeptical on that bullishness that fast. But hey, Tom Lee, even though he was wrong about October, still a very intelligent man, still knows things and details that you and I don't know. So he keeps me bullish, but I'm losing faith in his numbers and his prediction timeline, if that makes sense.
Sure. I've listened to a lot of content over the last couple of days that Tom Lee has done interviews and different things like this. One of the things that he's trotting out that makes a lot of sense to me is that 80% of fund managers on Wall Street are underperforming key benchmarks like the S&P 500. And what that means to investors like us, retail on the ground, is that these fund managers have to play catch up. Now, are they going to turn to Monsanto? Are they going to turn to ExxonMobil? Are they going to turn to the safe bets in the stock market to try to play catch up and catch back up to the S&P 500, or risk being fired, or risk being their bonus being zero? Right? I think that they're going to look much further down the risk curve to get some gains for their clients and keep their jobs. Right. So I think that's the argument that Tom Lee is making, is that this catch-up trade is going to have investors of the institutional class looking down the risk curve. Now, of course, they're going to find names like CoreWeave, DraftKings. They're going to find names on the equities side to play catch-up with that look promising, that look bullish. However, you can't count out the ETFs too. And those ETFs do include the two assets that Tom Lee is making predictions on, which is Ethereum and Bitcoin. So that's the argumentation that he's been making, neither of which have anything to do with our next story, which is XRP. Going over to my screen here, Ripple has launched a digital asset spot prime brokerage service for the U.S. markets. This allows clients to execute OTC spot transactions across the most prominent digital assets and stablecoins including XRP and RLUSD. This puts into action their strategy for the Hidden Road acquisition of $1.25 billion. And this is a pretty big deal. I'm not counting this one out. Tim, what are your thoughts here on the XRP story?
Yeah, I think it could be good. I think that XRP's got a flood of good news and bad news here recently. I'm not giving up on XRP. I still hold it. But the reason why I continue to hold it is I didn't have this suspicion that XRP was going to skyrocket to like $40, $50, $449 per coin in this bull run anyway. I think XRP is a little bit further of a uphill battle than some people give it credit for. I don't think it's going to be a smashing success as some people thought it would, but I still think it goes up. I think that this news is good for them. Let's see it back up with price action going up to the upside. I'll start here and just say I think we have one more story about the stock market, but I'm in a place right now, as bullish as I am. I understand people's frustration. I understand concern. I'm moving very much so right now in my brain space into trading mode, meaning I'm buying when the charts say buy and I'm selling when the charts say sell. As far as explosive price action for coins like XRP and others, based off of headlines like this, I'm tired of hearing the bullish headlines. I really just want to see the price start to actually go to the upside. I want to see people buying it. I want to see people demanding it. So wake me up for XRP when that happens. I do hold a bag, but I'm not sitting here holding my breath and going and running to buy way more XRP because of this headline.
Yeah. Last story, potentially one of the names that has been sopping up all the liquidity, and that is Amazon and OpenAI just penned quite a large deal. Amazon announces a $38 billion partnership deal with OpenAI. Amazon has just been dazzling the markets with how great their AWS cloud services have been. That's a joke because they've had some downtime recently. And OpenAI wants a piece of it. Tim, I don't think we're going to break this one down today, but what's your quick take, and can we expect more breakdown of this type of stories in the future?
Listen, I don't like OpenAI. I've been very adamant about that. I don't like Sam Altman as a person. I'm a little bit scared of him, but I want to still make money. OpenAI is not going anywhere. Amazon, of course, is already one of the largest companies in the world. This could be absolutely massive. If you want to make money, these headlines like this could be absolutely massive. You're going to see as we've already dabbled this last couple of weeks. We still talk crypto. We're not going to leave crypto. We're absolutely going to start talking about stocks more frequently. There's going to be a video coming out Thursday about a new stock that could rival NVIDIA. You don't want to miss that whatsoever. Pay attention to OpenAI headlines. They are making some moves. If you hold the stock, if you trade the stocks that are making moves with them, there's absolutely still money to be made. It's an AI company. AI is all the rave right now. China's all about it. America's all about it. It's going to transition into crypto as well, by the way. But for right now, AI is the cool kid on the block. And OpenAI is one of the main companies that are pushing that forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, it's a good thing that I called Amazon in the Discord. It's one of the stocks that I have been talking about. I went ahead and took profits on a little bit of my Amazon holdings on Friday. But for folks who are active in the Discord and tune into the morning news, which is a free feature for anybody who's in our Discord at all, but is absolutely a key part of our paid group, you would have known that Amazon was a good buy last week. So, Amazon, it was something that was underbought in my opinion. So that is expect more analysis on the equity side because it's outperforming a lot of other key asset classes, and it is seen as lower risk.
Absolutely. Let's get back into some topics here. We're gonna have some questions here in a couple of minutes. It's 3:45. Again, I told you there's a whole lot of news to go through today, so took a little bit longer. We're not gonna be able to answer as many questions necessarily, but we'll answer as many as we can in a second. I left you guys on a little bit of a cliffhanger on the chart section. Let's go back in over there and take a look at my charts. This chart right here, the Bitcoin dominance chart. Let me go over to a daily chart here. I'm looking at the weekly chart. It had been really respecting some resistance here, with the exception of the October 10th breakout, right? Where all hell broke loose. Certain exchanges broke. Liquidations went crazy. It was the largest one-day crash in the crypto space ever. You had a little bit of a breaking of trends. I don't take every single wick on every exchange that seriously. Even Bitcoin dominance. It skyrocketed momentarily above 63%. But of course, it corrected right back down into a trading range that it was respecting now all the way since back in September. This in theory, if the altcoins were going to hold up quite well, should have made a move down. But today, we are watching this candle break to the upside. Now, I want to be clear here before I freak out and tell you guys that the sky is falling for altcoins. Could this be another misdirection move? Absolutely. How will today's daily candle close? Will it close way up here at 60.85 or even higher? Or will it close back down below? But even that's not enough. The real question is, does this close above the red line? If it does, not great, but it's not over. Now, where does it open tomorrow? And where does it close tomorrow? For something to be very important, you can even see here again, I don't count this one because of the crazy movement here, but a lot of times when you're doing technical analysis and a resistance level is broken, whether it is a rising or falling level of resistance, whether it's a horizontal level of resistance, you want to see what's called confirmation. And that is multiple candles opening and closing above that resistance level. If that happens, all of a sudden, you do start to wonder just how high can this get? When you date it back here to June of 2025, we've been in a bear trend on Bitcoin dominance. Since June, altcoins, this is going to sound crazy because obviously altcoins are not doing great. But according to Bitcoin dominance, the Bitcoin dominance, altcoins are trending better. This really means Ethereum's been doing better than Bitcoin since back in June. But altcoins as a whole are doing well because the dominance is way down. Lower highs and lower lows. Technically, even though we broke some structure, we're still under a lower high and lower low situation. But if we start to get up here and close some candles above 62.67, altcoins could be in trouble. I said in the title, are altcoins dead? I want to specify here, dead is the wrong term. But could we be heading for a longer altcoin winter than some of you are comfortable with? You need to start preparing yourself for that situation. The biggest factor here is going to be Ethereum. The reason I'm not so certain we're going to close Bitcoin dominance above 63% is because I still see a very bright future for Ethereum. And no other coin impacts this chart right here more so than Ethereum. But I also can't ignore when a resistance level that should have held breaks. I can't ignore signs they're coming at me. There's also this whole thing that people are holding on to based off a 4-year cycle history. That's like, hey, we're doomed for this altcoin season where Bitcoin dominance will just fall off a cliff like it did back in January of 2021, like it did back in February of 2017, February 2017. We're waiting for this catastrophic fall, myself included. What if that doesn't happen? What if the new cycle is not a 4-year cycle? It doesn't rhyme or repeat. What if we see a much slower process where Bitcoin dominance just kind of trades sideways and maybe slowly years from now trickles its way back down to 50%? But what if Bitcoin right now ends up becoming the main attention of the crypto space? Again, I don't want to tell you guys this is what I'm predicting. I don't want to tell you wait for it. I'm telling you, you just have to start preparing your brain for these types of moves. And even though I've been really bullish on altcoins, I'm not selling my altcoins. But there's a reason why I've told people, don't get rid of all of your Bitcoin. I didn't think it was a high probability. And I still don't think it's a high probability. But there is a world in which there's still bullishness. Even altcoins rally to the upside, but Bitcoin just takes off. And it comes up here. Even when you think about what Tom Lee's prediction was earlier in the video, Tom Lee's saying that Bitcoin could make its way to 200,000 and Ethereum could make its way to 7,000. That situation, just so you know, everyone would be very excited for Ethereum to be at 7,000, wouldn't you? But that's a situation that causes Bitcoin dominance to go up. Why? Because when you take a look at coin market cap and you think through this, okay, let's just, for round numbers, let's just say double. Let's say Bitcoin doubles. Let's say Ethereum doubles. The current market cap for Bitcoin is sitting at, and I think this is behind my face, so if you want to make me a little smaller, Bitcoin's at $2.13 trillion in market cap right now. That's CoinGlass, but it's still telling me the right details. All right. Ethereum is at $433 billion. Let me go to CoinMarketCap because that's, I knew that looked weird. There we go. That's a lot better. Similar numbers, but I just like this better. You can bring my face back on now. So if Bitcoin goes to $212,000, it doubles. I'm not going to go much higher, but $212,000. The market cap of Bitcoin will pretty much go to $4.2 trillion. Ethereum, meanwhile, that has the largest impact on Bitcoin dominance, will only go from 430 to 860 billion. That's not even a $1 trillion market cap for Ethereum. Now, assuming that those happen, you would assume that altcoins themselves would also climb in price. However, that would be a massive upside for Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin doubles and Ethereum doubles, yeah, even if your Solanas and your Cardanos and your Chainlinks and your Stellar Lumens and your Suis, even if they quadrupled, those aren't going to have anywhere near the impact that Ethereum has on this dominance overall. And that's a world you need to be prepared for. Will altcoins die? Probably not. But are we going to see this catastrophic fall in Bitcoin dominance? You need to prepare yourself that the answer might not be what you want. We might not see Bitcoin dominance fall off a cliff. We might see a very slow, methodical trend of sideways action for a couple of years. Am I predicting that? I'm not really predicting anything. I'm telling you, at this point, throw out everything you knew about the 4-year cycle, throw out everything you knew about what has to happen. At the end of the day, if more people want to buy Bitcoin than want to buy altcoins, you're not going to have this massive altcoin season. Here's the other thing I'll say about altcoins being dead. Go off my screen for a second. I don't think that altcoins are going to die, but I do think that certain altcoins, and I've been saying this for a while, so this isn't really a change of anything. Make sure you're in the right altcoins. Stop chasing the altcoin that you see on some random TikTok, some random influencer talking and shilling some new meme coin or this new coin that's revolutionary. It's going to change everything. It's just like Bitcoin, but it's only better. That's not a reason. Like, hearing something has a great idea is not a reason anymore to buy an altcoin. At this point, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of altcoins out there, and technology is just growing and getting bigger and better. But ultimately, the coins you want to invest in are the ones where the money will flow. And you want to know what's really frustrating right now about the markets right now? This is like real talk with Tim right now. I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm not here to give you tissues for your tears. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to give you my take on things, but I'm not going to sugarcoat things, and I'm not going to tell you everything's good when everything's not good. I put this tweet out earlier today. It's getting great reaction. Go to my screen here. 28,000 impressions on this. This is not my highest all time. I think I've had a couple that go over 100,000, but for me, I'm usually like 3,000, 4,000. 28,000 people have seen this post. This is something you guys need to walk away from this as well. I want to read it because I wouldn't quote it perfectly. Crypto was supposed to be the great opportunity for wealth to transfer from elites to the everyday people. If you're wondering where I'm going with this, stick around. I have a point. Unfortunately, everyday people are easily manipulated, and now we are watching crypto wealth transfer from everyday people back to the elites. If you saw this and you weren't quite certain what I meant by this, what I mean by this is you and I and retailers are too stupid. I'm not calling you yourself stupid. I'm including myself in the group. We as retail are too stupid to take advantage of one of the greatest chances we ever had. Now, I'm hodling. A lot of you guys are hodling. I think we're going to be okay. But crypto really was a chance to rewrite history when it comes to wealth. And the elites that have been manipulating, controlling, and printing fiat currency into oblivion, it was a time to take wealth back and have the everyday person be able to chase that American dream again. The problem is we're stupid and we're manipulated and we're convinced to sell at the wrong times and we're convinced to buy at the wrong times. And ultimately, what is happening right now is the institutions have gained control of crypto markets. They will decide which ones will pump and which ones will not. So if you're thinking your random panda eats a chocolate bar meme coin, I just came out with that. Now someone's going to go create that and maybe make $1 million. I don't know. If you think your random meme coin is going to make you a multimillionaire by holding it long term, I'm sorry, sweetie. That's not going to happen. The coins you should be investing in, the coins you should be holding are the coins that you're watching BlackRock hold. The coins that you're watching Bank of America, JP Morgan, the coins you're watching the United States government buy, the Chinese government buy. What is Amazon doing? What is Google doing? What is Microsoft doing? What is Tesla doing? Why? Because they're the ones with the money. They're the ones with the control. They're the ones who will decide when it's time for price to go up and when it's time for price to go down. And they're going to make sure, because they know that you're a sheep and will do whatever they want you to do, they will make sure that if you think emotionally and pay attention to the news, and that's your main reason for investing when you do, they will absolutely make sure you are screwed at every turn you make it. This whole show, we went through a lot of bullish news that keeps me very, very bullish. I still don't necessarily think the bottom is in, because I know all that news, while it's long-term very beneficial, that's the type of move to make someone emotionally jump in right this second, right now. The bottom will actually come on a day and a time where nobody is talking bullishly. It'll come on a time where the charts have bled. There's news that potentially crypto is going to die. There's nothing positive on the horizon. Why? Because that is the story of manipulation. I don't know what to tell people anymore, because I know you guys are absolutely tired and exhausted of watching shows like ours every day and seeing good news and seeing potential, but then having your heart broken all over again every single week because price continues to go the opposite of what you thought it was going to do. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not your financial advisor, and I'm not going to be your financial advisor. All I can tell you is the truth. All I can tell you is how I'm trading things. All I can tell you is strap in and prepare yourself, because the volatility, the roller coaster, it's not done yet. The chaos will continue. But for those of you who are brave enough, smart enough, and risky enough to say, you know what? I'm going to ignore the noise. I'm going to ignore my emotions. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to hodl on. I don't care what the news says. I don't care what the people say. I don't care who calls me a clown. I don't care who tells me I'm going to lose everything. I realize that the dollar is dead and it's worthless to hold, so I'm going to hold it in something I potentially think can make it based off of coins that I see the big boys secretly accumulating. Those are the people who are going to make it. Those are the people who are going to build wealth. But the unfortunate detail is several of you are not going to be in that group. Several of you right now are watching this, and you're saying Tim's an idiot, and you're saying Tim's a clown, and I'm tired of listening to Tim, and I'm done with crypto, and I'm done with it. I understand why you're saying that. I understand why you're doing that. What I'm telling you is, when you look at the history, when you look at crypto's movements, when you look at when Bitcoin was back at 16,000 per coin, when you look even back earlier this year when Bitcoin was at 74,000 per coin, when you look at back in September when it was down at 50,000 per coin, September of 24, those times were actually even worse than this. People were convinced the top was in, crypto screwed, this is terrible, it's a scam, stay away. It's when everybody feels that way that prices rip to the upside. That day's coming. I can't tell you when, can't tell you how. I'm going to be here and I'm going to hodl on. But what I'm going to do in the meantime, and I've said this throughout the whole show and I've been saying it for a long time, I'm in full-blown trader mode. And when you're in full-blown trader mode, you don't care which direction the charts go. You care about, do the signals tell you when to buy? Do the signals tell you where to sell? And that's why we built our indicator. We built the indicator thinking about people just like you. I got tired of looking at indicators and learning technical analysis and saying, well, statistically, when a head and shoulders pattern happens, this is supposed to happen. Or statistically, a bull flag pattern means this. I got tired of that. I was like, no, I want to know when is the best time to buy. And I want to see the track record of what signals I need to see to know it's time to buy, and what signals do I need to see when I know it's time to sell. So when you wonder, we go back to my chart here, when you wonder where these indicators came from, we are pulling on the data that absolutely dictates and tells you when things are bullish and when things are bearish. When are things ridiculously, this is the oscillator, the perfect buying strategy. Let's not say perfect, let's say highly probable. When are we extremely overbought or extremely oversold? When do we see positive momentum in the right direction in terms of straight to the movements? And ultimately, the most powerful part of this, when is money actually flowing in versus when is money actually flowing out? And then understanding these markets are extremely volatile and have a lot of flashes up and downs. What are the most probable support and resistance zones that will be utilized in a bouncy, sideways, sometimes bullish, sometimes negative situation? These order blocks with high volume, these smart trails of support and resistance, these moments telling us reversals are coming, money's leaving, whatever it is. This has been, in my 5 years of trading, the most reliable indicator I have ever used to make me money. And that is why, despite Bitcoin being down, decently from its all-time highs here just a couple weeks ago, my trading portfolio is going to the upside. This morning, we had 2 wins and 1 break even using this indicator. If you look at the history of this indicator, it is killing it. So I encourage you, while you're waiting and you're frustrated, your HODL portfolio is not doing what you want it to do, learn how to trade. And if you want to know where you want to trade, right now I've actually switched here recently to a new exchange called Toobit. And if you don't want to use a new exchange, if you like yours, go for it. But all of you guys newer out there, one of the reasons I like Toobit is Toobit was one of the few exchanges that on the October 10th crash did not have major problems where people are having crazy slippage and losing thousands of dollars. And in fact, the few cases where that was happening, Toobit actually had a platform that allowed you to get paid back from the exchange. Not only that, but we have a special deal with Toobit as one of our partners that anyone who signs up with our link automatically gets boosted up to the VIP 1 level of fees. So unless you want to pay really, really high fees, unless you want to keep it up there, I highly recommend checking out Toobit with our link down below in the link tree. Start trading these movements today. Make money, whether we're bullish or bearish or sideways. Signals, indicators, we have everything in our group. Go check it out right now and start trading with us today. It's 4:02, so our time is up. The show is up. We still have 900 people watching this. Thank you guys so much on YouTube. We have 420 people over on X. Thank you so much. If you guys are enjoying this, smash like and make sure you're subscribed. Some of you probably even didn't enjoy this because you just want me to say everything's going to go to the moon, but you know you need to hear things like this. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you have notifications turned on. Even over on X, we are posting so much content that you need to know when you need to know it. Make sure on X you're following us and you put your alerts on so that you get pinged when we put out tweets. We're not putting out puff pieces. We're not saying good morning to everybody every morning. We tweet when people need to know about something. We make content about things that you need to know about. So make sure you're subscribed and following us on all of our platforms. Go check out our free Discord, because that is a place where every morning Shrum is going through the news with you and explaining it to you. And if you want to go deeper and learn how to trade, the VIP trading group and Toobit are the perfect platforms to use. Get that free indicator. Guys, I love you. I will see you again tomorrow. You guys have a great day.